place. But during the process, because he was learning from the Wisemans and Rothschild and WR, he learned about how to negotiate other projects, trade wares, and get, at that time, which was new, tax increment bonds, which was going to be used in the Orangewood Estate project. The roadblock was he had a lot of power brokers with him, and Mr. Rothschild, who bowed out of doing the project, introduced him to the owners of a Belgian bank, which ended up being one of our companies called Belgate. And then we own Northgate. Belgate financed Northgate. Northgate built the homes on the west side of San Bernardino, which goes back to what I was saying before. There are different arms in land development. And a lot of people don't realize that land development has a whole bunch of different, being a developer has a whole lot of different additives to it. During this process, Mr. Rothschild, who was enormously, powerful at the time, also taught my father on how to buy banks. It was the strangest conversation I'd ever seen in my life. And by the way, that's where the Tyrone thing came from.
Oh, okay.
But we would sit there, and he was telling me, when you partner up with these guys here, they want to be in the United States, and they want to be a bank in the United States. If you play your cards right, they'll finance you, and they're going to buy a bank in the United States. And you will be in control so that you could build as much as you want to build when you want to build.
Right.
I literally sat through that conversation. And as a kid, I was blown away. Because I was hearing things and I didn't,
Nobody, not a lot of people were talking about that. Now, what was Talmadge Hughes' role, if any, in all of that?
In the early stages, Talmadge had no role.
Okay.
And that was why, there's things that I heard, and you got to give my father credit. He was insisting on, while I'm doing this, I need to have a black real estate broker, because they wanted to bring in their real estate brokers on our projects. He was like, no, I got to have a black real estate broker. I got to have insurance people, Samuel Jackson, because by that time Golden State wasn't where they were, but the bonding capacity. Remember, Sam could start bonding. That's where that came from.
Oh,
Sam,
okay.
We used to have to go to Mr. Rothschild's bank to bond as a black contractor. There was no black contractors other than LA, and they weren't allowed to bond out this way. So that's where that argument started. He was like, look, if I'm going to do this, and you're going to make all this money, we got to do performance bonds in the city of San Bernardino.
So Sam Jackson would bond people? He had the capacity to sell the bonds? He got the capacity
to
sell the bonds.
The bonds, but he wasn't allowed to do it on our projects. See, there's a lot of give and take, and these guys became friends during this project because of this. So once Sam got the opportunity to bond, and they wasn't allowing Talmadge to be he wanted Talmadge to be the real estate broker when we put together Pioneer Park Plaza in downtown San Bernardino senior housing. He actually wanted Samuel to be involved, Talmadge to be involved in that because he trusted Talmadge. That wouldn't happen. He wanted Richard Cole, who was a contractor. Well, he asked Norm Wilson first. Norm didn't want to be involved with the people that we were involved with. A lot of blacks had issues with dealing with Jewish or people of that stature, given their background. They just were hands off. So we tried to get Richard because Richard was a contractor and he was a family member. And at one point they were business partners. That's why Richard's company was called Alco Builders.
Oh.
But they wouldn't let Richard have the contract because it was a union job, and they wanted to have their way on Pioneer Park Plaza.
Right.
So even though we ended up being partners and developers on Pioneer Park Plaza, we couldn't hire black contractors.
Now tell me this plaza, said it again, because
Pioneer Park Plaza. It's called the Plaza now. It's downtown across the street from the bus station. Between F and G, just north of 5th Street.
Yeah, I know where you are.
That project.
Oh, that was Clyde's project?
Yeah. That's the project that actually seeded the money to start building Orangewood Estates.
Oh, okay.
And we owned that project until 1993.
Oh, okay. Even after he passed,
yes,
the family kept control.
Well, we only owned 25%. Of course, the Rothschilds and the Wisemans owned the other 75%.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a
You had an interest in
Yeah,
it.
we had interest in it.
Wow.
And of course, we controlled the management of it for the first. Again, he learned so much from these guys. He made an agreement with them that it would be a black management company. They ran it for the first 10 years. Of course, he died before the 10 years was over, but he was able to craft an agreement to where no matter what, it would be someone in there black working and someone in there black working in the maintenance part of it. You know, the
Why do you think your father thought it was important to have blacks in these positions and not just go along with the establishment?
I really, that's just,
You don't
that was
know?
in his heart. That was
Okay.
just something that I've never went with him, and I went to almost everything, and he never spoke up and said, well, wait a minute, you know, we got to have blacks.
Where was he from? Where was he born?
In
Clyde.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes.
So how did he get to San Bernardino area?
Well, you know the history of Tulsa.
Huh?
You know the history of Tulsa, Black Wall Street.
Uh-huh.
Most Black Wall Street, the black businesses. If you go up and down Apache Lane, and of course my grandmother and Bobby's and Richard's mom, Aunt Artie Faye, these were business owners in Tulsa. So that's where it came from. And blacks in Tulsa do business together. And that was just his mindset.
Okay.
He would rather, and with family. You know, it was family,
Family
and
Black.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
That was just the way it was. As I said, when we met, you may not have seen Richard or Bobby around him in the outside, but they would either meet over Bobby's house, Richard's house, our house, my Uncle Joe's house in the gardens, and you would have all of those relatives in those houses on weekends. As kids, we felt like we were in the mafia because we had to play. We only played with each other, and all of them would be outside having their meetings, and they would be planning what they were going to do in the community.
What year did he come to California? Do you remember?
My father?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they bought the house on 16th Street.
Were you
in
born here?
1954. No, I was born in L.A., but I was raised here.
So they went to L.A. first and then came.
Yeah, everybody went to L.A. first, and they came to San Bernardino. But I can't tell you what year.
Mm-hmm.
We almost didn't even live in San Bernardino. I remember when I was young, we were looking at houses in Baldwin Hills. I do know that.
Oh, okay.
And Bobby
How
was
many
too.
brothers and sisters do you have?
I had one sister, and she passed.
Oh, she did.
Yes,
And you're the only child living now?
yes.
Okay. From Clyde. And what was your mother's name?
Eddie Lee Alexander.
What is
Eddie Lee Alexander.
Eddie Lee Alexander. Oh, okay. Did you know her, Mina?
No. What year did she pass?
In 1993, but I was adopted as a baby by my father.
You were?
Yes.
So he's not your biological father? I would not have
So
known
you just has
that.
one biological child, your sister.
No, my sister was adopted too.
Oh, so both you guys were then adopted.
Right.
So did Clyde have any biological children that you know of?
None.
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 But I would not have
That's
known if you
amazing.
hadn't put it up here on this tape. I would.
I wouldn't have known
Okay. How did you
because
find
I
out?
was adopted at 6 months old.
Okay.
I don't like to say this, but family's funny.
We can edit out whatever if you want me to edit something.
Yeah,
Now,
well-
if you got something you want to say on your chest, it's
No, because I grew up. I grew up. What I always tell people, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was my father, because he was a unique individual. We never talked about it. I never knew it because I was a baby. How it came out was when he passed, and you know what happens when people pass.
let's look at all the paperwork.
We had paperwork. So, and it wasn't him that told me. It was just in a very frank and very ugly conversation.
Oh.
And it was like, wow, okay.
So how did that make you feel?
It didn't make me feel any way.
You had no feeling.
No, because the gift that I have that's more important than anything was I got to be able to sit here with you and I learned.
Right.
I got to do things that no other kid could do. I got to work at construction sites at the age of 8 and read blueprints by the time I was 9. I could manage construction projects. When I was 14 years old, I built 2 custom homes in Redlands on the Hill for a doctor named Squibble,
Yeah.
who hated black people. But he would come out every day and say, I don't understand how your 14-year-old, excuse my word, ass, is able to keep up and build these houses. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I got relationships for a lifetime with billionaires. That anytime I ask for help or want to do a project, they're there. I've brought Andrew Wiseman down. I've brought the owners of Peck and Jones. I just told you we met with him. I have relationships where I go to Bell Canyon and most black people can't go there.
So you still have these
I have all of
relationships
these
your father
relationships.
shared with you.
Right.
So he shared with you not only knowledge, but also resources that you continue to maintain.
Right. My consulting firm does what we want to do when we want to do it. I'm not hungry for money. I'm hungry for knowledge and opportunities. And these are things that I covet because I try to follow what he set forth. I could easily, and I think, Lou, we spend time together. He gets it now. I could easily do projects. But I owe it to my father to not sell myself short, no matter how long it takes me to do what I want to do. Because the one thing that he did not do and could have done was just walk away and build what he wanted to build, make as much money as he wanted to make anywhere he wanted to make money. But his relationships with these people is impeccable.
So City Hall, I met him in City Hall. Did he have a job in City Hall? We were just on the planning
He
commission.
was just on the planning commission.
That's why he was there.
And he only went to the byproduct of that. He only went to the planning commission so he could learn about the building process in San Bernardino. He didn't want no other reason. The only reason why he went there, and he said it, and he made it clear when him and Norris Gregory were going back and forth about it. Norris asked Clyde, I know you know all these people, I need you. He's like, no, I'm not doing it unless you let me have what you guys have in the city when you let all these other people build homes and do projects. So he stayed on the planning commission 2 terms just to learn that. That was it.
Any other politician besides Norris Gregory that he? How about John Hopper?
John was in the mix. Tom Bradley, Mayor Tom Bradley. Tom Bradley used to come down. I have pictures. He used to come down. We have relatives in Fresno that were city managers, city mayors, project managers. The owner of the Black Bank in L.A. What was it called?
Freedom? No, it wasn't Freedom. What was that bank?
Yeah, that hit him. We worked with him a lot. Goldrich and Kest, which were the biggest Jewish builders in the 70s and 80s in L.A. Peck and Jones. At that time, they were called something else, but Peck and Jones. Griffin Homes, Covington Construction, Lewis Homes, Nick Tavallone. All of these people were people that he interacted with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we had Barbara Robinson and Frank Robinson, which were relatives.
And there's Richard Cole's.
Richard Cole's sister is Barbara.
Yeah, but the husband name is Frank Robinson,
Yeah,
right?
the baseball player.
Okay.
So, and then we had connections with Diamond Lee. Oh God, I can't think of all the Congress people these people knew. Marv Diamond Lee.
How about George?
Alan Cranston.
How about George Brown?
Yeah, George Brown, all the time. My father built homes in Pittsburgh, California, and at that time, I think George Brown. That name wasn't George Brown. Was it Brown? I know it was Brown.
Congressman Brown.
No, yeah, Congressman Brown, yeah, because I got an award from him as a kid. But no, the other Brown that was head of the state assembly. Willie Brown. Willie Brown was in the Bay Area. We built some homes in Pittsburgh, California, and their friendship was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I remember going to Sacramento and just sitting in the Capitol for hours while they go in the room and talk. So he had a lot of political connections all over the state. That was just unreal. But I think the biggest thing about him was he always sold San Bernardino. He always envisioned having an African American community that was a planned, developed community. Those were his words every time we went to the office downtown, every time we were doing the projects here on 16th Street. In fact, he was trying to build condominiums before he basically started working with John Dukes.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. John Dukes, he went to phase 1, John Dukes was phase 2, and somebody finished it all up. So I'm not sure of that. Can you talk about that?
The relationship between him and John Dukes was interesting. That part of the project had to have, in every black community, they want you to put multi-family or put in apartments. And my father didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do anything low income because he felt that if I built homes and we we put low-income apartments in there, you're killing the value of these homes that we're building. The city was like killing us. We owned that land where John Dukes
Where John
originally
Dukes
built that
was.
So the
And
killing
that's California
and
and
17th Street on north.
okay.
And then we ended up selling the other part where the doors were south to him because the city insisted that someone built low-income housing. So he was so adamant against it, he made a deal with John Dukes, and that's how that project came about. But the relationship between them was good, but the projects clashed. I think that it's unfortunate that, again, when we're what they call so-called red line communities,
Right.
we catch that.
So your
that
father
thing.
was against.
He wanted to stay with the successful program that they had put in place through Operation Second Chance and Talmadge Hughes and that group, where they had stopped the projects. Was like he hated the projects, and his idea was we got to stop building large concentrations of low-income housing. When he was on the Planning Commission, if you remember, for a minute there, they would build 4 units. They were building the 4 units, and they would spread them all over the city. Some of those units at that time, when Del Rosa and those areas were still predominantly white, they built low-income housing in those. They would build the fourplexes in those units, and that was his thing. I don't want to build 300 units and slap all these low-income people in there. Particularly if you build on the west side, you already know it's going to be 300 black people slammed together. And
Right.
he hated that concept. I mean, he hated it.
I didn't know that either.
He hated it. That was where him and John Dukes and Francis and everybody parted ways.
And
That's when the battle started between our family and the powers to be, because we were adamantly against building large concentrations of low-income housing.
And he thought if you do bring everybody poor together like that,
You get what you got.
it's a negative effect on the community.
Right. His idea was to continue. He made money building satellite low-income housing. I forgot about that. Where they would build fourplexes in different parts of the city. And his concept was, if I build 4 units in a white community where everybody's being successful and everybody has a job and it's clean and it's safe, it will inspire these people that moved in there low income to get involved. I don't know how it would work if low income, you just don't want to do it. But it made sense to me where instead of having 300 people sitting there, like crabs in a barrel, maybe 2 out of the 4 will decide, let me go work at McDonald's because the little white kid next door is going to work at McDonald's. So it kind of made sense to me. After this Renaissance kind of thing took place, the city sided on that side of the fence and stuck with the concentration and cut the projects. I can drive around this whole city and show you where there was 10 of them built, and I can show you them. One was built down here not far off of Mount Vernon and 9th Street. 8 of them were built over there in Del Rosa, Highland, and over Bill Golden. All of those units still look nice.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes, and we're going to wind this section up because each interview is about an hour.
Okay.
But what I would like to do with you is to get Flo to bring the camera, drive around, talk about different projects like you said, so we can actually visualize and see what you were talking about, not just hear it, but see some of it, see what's happening there. Will you be willing to do that one day?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you think we should ask him now?
There's one other thing I
Yeah.
want to throw in. He put in several things that I'm so upset about that has happened in the West
Who
Side.
is he now?
My father.
Okay.
They put together what is called the Enterprise Zone. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Northwest Redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
What hurts my feelings is I remember sitting and watching this be put together. The concept of Northwest Redevelopment is actually in line with what we were doing with Orangewood Estate. It was to give the people in the community the power to pick what projects went in and how those projects work. It never worked the way it was basically put together, and unfortunately we have sat and allowed the Enterprise Zone to lose its accreditation.
Mm-hmm.
We fought. I've always sat on the outside and watched because I was aligned with another group and I could not interfere, but we fought and we let golden opportunities slide away. And the reason why I'm saying this is because no one realized the effectiveness of Northwest redevelopment until it basically left away. If you've been involved, and I know you have been involved in politics, you will always realize that the people in the City Hall always wanted to know what was going on with Northwest
Oh, we do
redevelopment.
what now?
The people in City Hall always wanted to know what was going on with Northwest redevelopment.
Right.
The I don't know if it's been reworded or was ever reworded, but the basic premise of it was to have your most educated and most knowledgeable people
Talented people.
on the Northwest redevelopment.
Right.
And the mandate was to continuously infuse, design, and add to the possibility of building new projects, bringing in new revenue, new tax revenue, and new ideals into the west end of San Bernardino. Somewhere along the line, something happened, and it has never met its potential. It actually had enough power to control what opportunities came into the west side of San Bernardino.
And I want to say this before you go. That's the
No, we
only.
have to go and then.
Yeah, that's what. This was the last one. That was the last project that had paid executive director. They paid people to head the Northwest
Exactly.
redevelopment. They had money.
Right.
The other one was sort of a lot different, but this one was a key
And that's why they paid the money.
Right.
Because it had teeth.
potential to make money as well.
It had teeth.
Right. So look, let me say thank you. I'm gonna call you again to do some more of this. Man, I really appreciate this. I knew you could do this. And now it's demonstrated that you did it, but we're not finished.
Okay.
Okay? And
All right.
thank you, Flo.
You're welcome.